Hey everybody, and welcome to Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Probably the most iconic cemetery here in Los Angeles, probably one of the most star-studded cemeteries here in Los Angeles. And what makes it so unbelievably unique is we are right next to Paramount Studios. This cemetery is actually founded in 1899, and a large portion of this property was given to Paramount Studios or sold to them. So during the summer, when Cinespia holds their movies here, which didn't happen this year because of COVID, but when they usually do it, this is the only place in the world where you can watch the stars, on top of the stars, underneath the stars, next to where the stars filmed it. So I'm going to show you guys some of my favorite burials here and just take you guys on a little tour of Hollywood Forever. The Hollywood Forever Cemetery wasn't always the star-studded place it is today. In 1897, two guys, Samuelson and Lombard, purchased 100 acres from the Gower family. If you're wondering if that's who Gower Studios is named for, you would be right. The two men, along with a few others from around town, created the Hollywood Cemetery Association and opened the graveyard on Santa Monica Boulevard in 1899. In 1920, they sold off 40 acres to Peralta Studios, who would later become Paramount. Now, I know you're probably wondering if that means, are there bodies underneath some of the sound stages? And the answer to that is maybe. Whether it's because Paramount is on former cemetery property, or that it still borders one, or for another reason, Paramount does claim to be haunted and offers a ghost tour, so you be the judge. The cemetery quickly became the place to be buried when Rudolph Valentino was interred there after dying at just 31 years old. His grave is still one of the most visited, and his funeral brought in hundreds of people. Valentino was a lot of things, but definitely a trendsetter in death, and Hollywood Forever Cemetery, as it would later be renamed in the 90s after it was being saved from the jaws of bankruptcy, is now one of the most elite afterlife destinations in the country. The cemetery is home to so many we know and love, and others we may have never heard of. Johnny Ramone, whose ashes aren't actually at the cemetery, has one of the most recognizable monuments in the world. Judy Garland and her little dog, too, are represented here at the cemetery as well. Toto's body isn't there, but Judy's is. Mickey Rooney, the adorable Ginge that brought us happiness for decades, rests here, as does Anton Yelchin, an actor torn from this earth at the infamous age of 27, leaving behind a life too short and a body of work well beyond his years. The park also houses people who have given us things we may not have known who to attribute thanks to, like Frederick W. Blanchard, whose Weeping Woman Monument, one of my personal faves in headstone symbology, gave us the Community Park and Arts Association and is responsible for the Hollywood Bowl, without which I would have never photobombed my now fiance's photo. It would not be currently engaged. You also have Irene Guadagno, or Mama Irene as she was affectionately called, who has possibly one of my favorite monuments in the park, who founded the Electric Daisy Carnival, an Italian immigrant who came here and created something thousands now enjoy annually. Hollywood is a place where people come to be famous, even if we only can achieve it in death. One way to achieve infamy is with a badass grave like Carl Morgan Bigsby, who was a graphic designer by trade, and when he died in 1959, had an exact replica of the Atlas missile carved for his headstone. It stands 20 feet tall and has facts about the missile on the one side and his epitaph on the other, along with his wife, Constance, whose epitaph reads, "Oh well, we had fun." They may have had zero to do with the missile, but it sure as hell makes people stop and read about them for a minute. You never know what you might stumble upon at the park. This was a shock for me. So I've just stumbled upon a monument that I've never found here at the cemetery. This is this insanely gorgeous monument dedicated to the people that lost their lives at the LA Times newspaper bombing that happened in 1910. It's gorgeous. October 1st, 1910, a dynamite explosion set off by the McNamara brothers would shake the building and LA to its core. From 1906 to 1911, union members went on a dynamite campaign to essentially blow up places that were anti-union. LA had staved off unions for years, and LA publisher Harrison Gray Otis was devoutly anti-union. So the McNamara brothers, both ironwork trade unionists, decided to blow up the building in which he worked. 21 people lost their lives in the bombing and subsequent fire, and 100 more were injured. Both brothers served time in prison, and the trial leading up to their imprisonment was the trial of the century, according to the papers. Of course, the cemetery is also known to be favored by LA Goths and horror lovers because of Maila Nurmi, or as most know her, Vampira. I would be lying if I said she wasn't an inspiration to me or any of the other female spooky hosts of today. She was a pioneer for women everywhere, and people still come here to leave her offerings and show their respect. Hollywood Forever has achieved something no other cemetery has: a slice of fame. To be buried at Hollywood Forever amongst the tens of thousands, like Griffith J. Griffith or Cecil B. DeMille, it will set you back at least $8,000, but the real estate and the clout that 6,000 Santa Monica Boulevard address buys you may actually give you that taste of Hollywood fame so many come here searching for, even if that fame has to be in death. Probably one of the reasons why this cemetery is so special is because it's really LA at its best. It's everything that makes this city unique. You are next to one of the most famous movie studios in the world. Some of those movie stars are buried here. You can watch movies here. They also host really cool events, like the largest Dia de Muertos festival that happens in Los Angeles. You buy tickets, there's ofrendas, there's music, it's beautiful. So you're really merging the Mexican culture that's here, it's thriving, this was Mexico, and the beautiful Hollywood history that people from all over the world come to see. So Hollywood Forever Cemetery, although usually busy, definitely the most tourist heavy cemetery in Los Angeles, absolutely worth it to come here, come to one of the events, come to see the people, come to read the names of the people you've never heard about, because yes, there's a lot of celebrities here, but there's also a lot of really important people here too, including every single person, because you guys know my mantra, every story matters. Everybody should be telling people stories, even if it's just reading the name of a headstone that you have never heard before. That is honoring somebody, and considering that the Dia de Muertos festival happens here, it's a really beautiful way to keep that thought process alive. As far as the longer people are remembered, they never truly die. So highly encourage you guys to come check it out if you haven't, and thanks for grave hunting with me.